The Curse of Frankenstein is very different from the book it is based on, that being Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but is nonetheless very good. Hello, my name is Noah Eltson. I'm a reporter for Purple and Gold News, and this is a review of the first Frankenstein movie in color, released in 1957, The Curse of Frankenstein. I'd like to start by explaining some important context. At the time of this movie's release, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein had only been adapted in movies a handful of times, many of which were done by Universal Pictures. Universal Pictures has a copyright on their depiction of Frankenstein, so even if Hammer Films wanted to make their monster look like theirs, they'd have to get a license to do so. That is why Hammer Films' Frankenstein looks like this instead of this. The cast of Hammer Films' Frankenstein had been used for several other Hammer Films productions. You may recognize Christopher Lee for his roles as Saruman in Lord of the Rings and Count Dooku in Star Wars, but he also played Count Dracula in Hammer Films' Dracula, also called The Horror of Dracula. Lee and Cushing are both great in this movie. This might just be the makeup, but if I didn't look at the cast list for the movie, I would have no idea who could have been playing the monster. Cushing's performance in this is well done. He's great in horror films. I didn't like his character very much because he didn't seem to care about his friends at all, but Cushing played him very convincingly. The casting is good, but is it good as an adaptation? While it is good, the movie is far removed from the plot of the book. For one thing, Victor is a far worse person in the movie than in the book. Victor in the book isn't great, but he is much less redeemable in the movie. Victor is a self-centered, short-sighted, but ultimately well-meaning person in the book. His desire to bring back the dead was fueled by his mother's death, after all. In the movie, Victor is shown to be a much less redeemable person by killing people for his experiments, lying to his friend and partner, Dr. Krempe, about the monster, and cheating on Justine and Elizabeth. I like this change. I love hating on Victor, and this movie makes it very easy to hate on Victor. I also like the change in the framing sequence. In the book, Victor tells the story to Captain Walton in a boat. Victor doesn't have a reason to tell Captain Walton the story, other than to appease his new friend's curiosity. In the movie, Victor tells the story to a priest before he is to be executed. I like this change because in the movie, Victor is an unreliable narrator. Victor has a reason to try to convince the priest that he is innocent, which I think is more interesting than in the book. The movie doesn't follow the plot of the book very closely, but it has a story that is good enough to stand on its own. I would recommend this movie to people who enjoyed old horror films and people who enjoyed the original book. It isn't very scary, but it is very morbid and a slight bit gory.
Elizabeth.